Hey, everybody. Michelle is here. Let me get the date because, it's so important to put these dates on these videos because everybody is coming for October the 29th, 2024. I'm not sure what's going on with my internet, but, it just decides to turn on and turn off on its own. So let's make sure this stuff is going through. Hope everybody's doing fantastic, magnificently, and marvelous. Because I am. So, I have been saying some things for a number of years because I knew certain factors would be coming forth when people recognize the truth about stuff and the truth about their behaviors and actions. And a lot of people are under the delusion and hallucination that your thoughts are not registered. In other words, your behaviors and actions are not registered. So many people believe that they can do things in the background and thus it does not show up eventually in the front of their lives. And so they're going to have to deal with the consequences. I told you we're living in the effects. And for a lot of factors of our lives, the damage has been done. So rather than some people admitting that they've caused so much damage in the lives of others while believing they were doing it secretively, in the background, doing it via their ego, doing it via their wanting to be experts and know-it-alls, they realize that, okay, you really cannot fool your consciousness under the best circumstances, whether you are educated or not, whether you have a high level of education via the traditional method or not. I told you need to self-educate yourself. Once you self-educate yourself, meaning you do your studies based on what is important to you, what you want to know. There's plenty of information out there that you can use as guidance, as reference, but you still have to think it through yourself. It has to be logical, rational, and reasonable. But anyway, so there's some people that I've been paying attention to because I sense and thought their intentions were genuine. But what's really happening is that they're saving face based on their behaviors and actions towards others over the years. And they give the illusion that they've changed. You know what I'm saying? That they've changed their behaviors and actions. And so now they're on a campaign of proving that. They're on a campaign of proving that by putting out certain type of videos, in more cases that way. They're putting out certain levels of videos. Now they're trying to run to certain people they know have the truth, and so they think that they can just run to them, get down on their knees and beg for forgiveness, and all is good. When in actuality, with truth, it doesn't matter what you do. Truth is truth. And so I should clear this up. It does matter what you do. But again, you can't fool your consciousness. That's the part I want people to understand. On the outside, if you tell me, look, I'm a changed man, I'm a changed woman, okay, all I can say is okay. I'm not, even if I were married to you or living with you, your behaviors and actions still fall back on you. There, you can fool me, which that's what a lot of people are doing now. They're out there attempting to fool the public about how changed they are, how remorseful they are. Because these particular people that I'm talking about have done some devastating things to people. Okay, whether it's by stealing or attempting to steal, and attempting to steal not only materialistically, but to steal their genuine thoughts by indoctrination. Indoctrination, manipulation, and deception. Because they saw a gravy train as to how to, make money Because that's what it's all about too. It's about greed, materialism. So these particular people believe that they can give the illusion on the external about how they've changed. They're no longer manipulative, deceptive, and looking to, fleece everybody of their materialism, and more so of their consciousness. And by doing that is by giving this belief that they've changed, that they're no longer practicing certain criminal negative energy or criminal negative behaviors and actions as they were. I can pick it up so quickly when people are doing that, because there's some contradictions. It's not logical, it's not rational, and it's not reasonable as to why they're doing certain things. And so it's, and I said this about another person a while ago, over a year or so ago. It was a few of them, but sometimes that criminal negative energy can morph itself into such deception and manipulation that the individual will believe that they've neutralized that criminal negative energy, but in fact they have reinforced it. Okay, they're reinforcing the criminal negative energy and actions because they believe that they're in the right company of people. That means something. That means they don't mean a goddamn thing. It doesn't mean anything. It's not about the level of people that you're hanging around with, the level of books that you're reading, the level of the company you keep. Okay, it's all done deep within your innermost being, into your consciousness, whatever you're calling these things. So I noticed with this particular person, I don't know this person personally. I don't know him, never met him. We were of similar like-mindedness. And you're going to run into this as well. You're going to run into people that are similarly of like-mindedness, who are doing the same kind of behaviors and actions. They've just advanced it. The same behaviors and criminal behaviors and actions, they've just advanced it because they, anyone dealing with criminal negative energy for some reason, that is the accountability and responsibility we all have to ourselves to kind of figure out, okay, what is really going on? And it starts from within. It starts from within your intentions. What are you attempting to do? How are you attempting to manipulate people? What are you attempting to gain with your deception and manipulation and such? But that criminal negative energy is something this planet has not ever dealt with before. You know why? Because we didn't understand the forms of the energy. We didn't understand that our thoughts were fortifying this plasma, is what we've been told is causing a plasma of criminal negative energy that circulates the planet. And the way I'm talking to people that operate in my similar like-mindedness, they know what I'm talking about. Okay, and they'll say a hit dog will holler, and that's so true. But now all of a sudden they're coming through to be self-righteous. Okay, they're not righteous. They want to be self-righteous now. They want to tell people how they're supposed to live, but yet they don't tell anybody about how they were living and how deceptive and manipulative they were. They're so quick to go, let's go run to this person. Let's go run to this country. Let's go run to this neighborhood. Let's start reading these books. Let's start blah, blah. So what they're attempting to do is kind of overshadow what they've done. Instead of putting themselves to the fire, and tell everybody, why did you become so criminally negative and manipulative and deceptive? Okay, they all of a sudden now they want to be teachers, and now they want to be experts on how people are supposed to live, but yet they haven't acknowledged what they've done until somebody else brings it up. Then they'll say, oh well, yeah, because they know eyes are on them, eyes are on me, they're going to say, yeah, I was responsible for doing this and that and the other. But they don't tell you why they did something. Okay? And how did they change? You know, they're just still doing the same things, but on a different level. Okay? You cannot fool your consciousness, is what I'm going to say to these people. Because it's a handful of them that I pay attention to everything. That's how I learn. That's how I'm self-educating myself. I'm paying attention to the narratives. All of a sudden, they do some wrongdoing, and that's the manipulative thing going on. It's just like a psychopath, sociopath, narcissistic personalities coming out lying to you about how much they've changed, but it's just a different level of upgrade, so to speak, of their criminal negative energy. They're doing everything they can to get some attention, get likes, get followers, and then still preach, this same criminal negative energy, but it's just different ingredients of it. Some of it is true, some of it is false, but all of it is manipulative, deception, intentions. So now all of a sudden I notice certain groups of people, like I said, I don't know them, but they're coming through as self-righteous. I am living the right way is what they'll say, and then they claim that nobody else can, and it's what they're saying. They don't realize that they can't fool their consciousness. They can't fool people like me. Okay, that's going to pick up your contradictions. I'm going to pick it up. The contradictions of telling me or telling others how to live. Okay, and all of a sudden, they had no integrity at one point, but now all of a sudden they have it. Come on now. But they don't tell us how they became criminal negative energy. Okay, so I'm paying attention. I just want to make that very clear. I've called out a lot of them, and I told you they're of similar like-mindedness. Okay, they're attempting to indoctrinate you at a higher level. And criminal negative energy can be upgraded. Okay, it's no different than neutral positive energy. Okay, it can still be upgraded. It can still be upgraded and fortified, and unfortunately that's what we have. We have these so-called experts coming forward and talking about, they don't say nothing, and that was what's pissed me off. They don't talk about their behaviors and actions, but yet they want to tell everybody else how to have integrity. Okay, they know who they are. Stop it. Okay, and snap out of it. Okay, you're exposing yourself. You're contradicting. Yes, some of them have done great things, but that means nothing if you don't work on yourself. Okay, and get yourself in alignment. Okay, stop the bleeding from yourself, and make sure you are putting out information that is not contradicting. And because some people can write beautifully, some can speak beautifully, but that has nothing to do with reality. Not at all. Okay, you either are telling the truth or you're not. Okay, you either are being honest or you're not. So again, I'm paying attention, I'm picking up contradictions. I notice there's a certain level of people out there who I don't know what their intentions are. Okay, but what I know is you can't fool your consciousness, and those that are who are of proper discernment, like myself and others, can pick it up. It's almost like bells are going off. They're telling again, and it's not. You need to, if you choose, everything is about free will as well. And as I said the other day, any scientists, I call them pseudoscientists, who go around and ramble about free will or lack thereof. They are unconscious and they are delusional, and they are attempting to indoctrinate you. Because if you were aware, which you ought to be, of your free will, you cannot be indoctrinated. You know why? Because you are accountable and responsible for your own behaviors and actions. And so you wouldn't want to put yourself in that type of, space and that type of reality, that type of environment. Free will means that you are taking accountability and responsibility for yourself. If you do not want to take accountability and responsibility for yourself, you will say there is no free will. You have no free will. And that's a bunch of bullshit and garbage. And it's an intention to take all the pressure off of oneself and then put it on everybody else. A lot of people are doing that. And, I'm happy about some things that I see. I think a lot of people are becoming, they say critical thinking, but you're just being conscious, actually. You're being conscious, and you are aware, you are awake, and you realize, wait a second. What am I being taught? What am I believing? And so I noticed that, and I'm paying attention. I am not interfering, and I never really have interfered by going to these particular people, and we do have to figure things out on our own. But I'm putting out breadcrumbs. Okay, I'm documenting. I'm documenting. Some of you who believe you are experts, believe you've had the life lessons, and it doesn't matter how old you are. Okay, but it does matter how much life experience you've had. Okay, some of you are just still continuing to be deceptive and manipulative, and you may not know that because of your ego, number one, and this righteousness that you believe you have, and all because you know people or know things about some levels of truth. You think that you can just go out and supersede others like myself who are doing the same thing, attempting to help people. Okay, I know what's going on, and I'm just saying that to these like-mindedness who think they know what's going on. You are fooling yourself. You can't fool your consciousness. You can fool me. You can fool others. You can fool your followers. You can fool people that like you, but you can't fool yourself. You can, but all you're doing is, causing more harm than good, to the cause you claim to be representing. Okay, so I wanted to share that. I'm doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? I'm making things happen. This has been one of those years that, all of the years since 2022 until wherever it goes in my life are significant. There were some significant events that happened. I'm so thankful that I was able to seize on those moments, seize on those opportunities, and thus is helping me to help others. Okay, what I do is to help others, but there's no malicious intention behind it. But you have to figure that out on your own. All I do is, I put out the breadcrumbs. I sort of attempt to wave the red flags and such. And I can't help it but to want to help people, because once you realize who you are, what you are, and why you are, you're going to be so thankful to certain personalities out there that have been attempting to sound the alarm for decades, for thousands of years, for millions of years, whatever the case may be. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and send peace and love all over the stars and moon and mountains. Okay, I have an intention. I know what I'm doing. Okay, and I say this to others: don't fuck with me. Okay, I would focus on yourself. Okay, take responsibility and accountability for yourself, and let everything else fall in place.